Ozempic is the new weight loss drug touted by so many individuals today on social media as being potentially even a cure for obesity. So I wanted to make this video kind of describing what Ozempic actually is, of course, some of the side effects and downsides of it, and just kind of talk about if it's something that you should consider using or trying to obtain for yourself for your weight loss goals. So make sure to stay all the way until the end so you will know how to have a good informed decision on this. And it's incredibly important because a lot of individuals, when they are making decisions on their health and wellness, they don't often consider these things. So I really want you to pay attention closely because there's a lot of things to consider with Ozempic. There's a lot of things to consider, and by the end of this video, you will know those things. So I wanted to first start out with this idea of what Ozempic actually is. What Ozempic actually is. So what is it? What is it? It's, been touted online. A lot of celebrities are using it as a weight loss drug, but what really is Ozempic? So Ozempic is simply something that is called semaglutide. And semaglutide was actually a drug designed for individuals who have diabetes as a way to treat diabetes. So Ozempic is essentially just the brand name, as in somebody bought the rights to use semaglutide and they're kind of marketing it as Ozempic. And essentially this is again for diabetics. Typically that's what it's for. And people are using it to lose weight as well. And I'll kind of touch on in a second why you can actually, at least some individuals, get some weight loss with Ozempic. But so that's long story short. Ozempic is a drug that is supposed to be used for individuals with diabetics as a way to, of course, manage and monitor blood sugar and try to lower it ultimately. This happens through the use of appetite modulation. So in other words, the way that this actually kind of lowers and monitors your blood sugar when using and thinking about Ozempic is that it delays the digestion process. So it kind of slows it a little bit. And as we know, through eating foods like fiber and foods that are high in protein, specifically all those foods together, when you consume those types of foods, those actually slow your digestion. So that's actually a really good tool that a lot of people who are diabetic try to do to ultimately lower their overall blood sugar. But this drug, Ozempic, actually kind of does the same thing. So it slowly lowers your digestive rate. So you're not going to be able to get those nutrients out quite as quickly as if you didn't take the drug. Because of this, obviously, if you're not digesting it quite as quickly, the thing about it is you're not going to be as hungry because appetite regulation usually becomes from how quick you can kind of digest a food and feel satiated from that food. That's why foods higher in fiber usually lead to weight loss because they make you feel more full. They kind of suppress your appetite. So Ozempic doesn't inherently cause weight loss, but kind of the thing that happens from it, it slows that digestion like we just talked about, which of course, once you slow the digestion, it can actually kind of regulate your appetite a little bit more or kind of downgrade your appetite, which long term will lead you to, for most individuals of course, lose weight. So that's kind of Ozempic. The thing about Ozempic though, and it specifically, is that there's another drug on the market called Wegovy. And Wegovy is the exact same thing as semaglutide. So as we discussed at the beginning of this, Ozempic in itself is semaglutide, which is that drug that can help to lower blood sugar through the appetite regulation. A very smart individual actually bought semaglutide and remarketed it as a weight loss tool because they saw from a lot of the individuals who were using it for diabetes treatment that they also lost some weight because of that appetite regulating effect. So again, this person like hop on the trend, and they're making oodles of money now because people are buying this as a weight loss drug. And this is kind of why I wanted to make this video, to kind of suss out some of that information. So essentially this was designed for individuals with diabetes, but then somebody took it and are now using it as a weight loss drug, weight loss tool, right? So is this a really good thing? Is this a really good thing? So the next portion of this that I wanted to talk about is actually some problems with Ozempic, or even just semaglutide in general. You know, as it comes to anything in health and fitness, there are no free lunches. You might be able to lose a little bit of weight, but there's also some things to consider. And unfortunately, since people don't realize that all this does is kind of lower your appetite regulation through the use of slowing your digestion, people will think that you can eat the same amount of calories when you are taking Ozempic versus not taking Ozempic, and all the fat's just going to melt away. Almost like the fact that you are digesting it slower is going to completely get rid of all the nutrients and all the calories, period. And this is not the case. And in fact, a lot of individuals are getting huge issues in discomfort and nausea simply because they're eating the same amount of calories, maybe even more, and thinking, oh, it's just going to burn off in my body, and ultimately allowed me to lose weight. Not the case at all. Not the case at all. And this is causing people lots of gastric distress and issues. So there are actually some things I wanted us to talk about in essence from it, but the first thing that is happening right now, since the demand is so high for this, there's shortages on the drug itself for people who actually need it. And that's a huge problem, because if you think about it, there's people who are maybe very, very highly diabetic, I guess you could say, have very uncontrolled diabetes and blood sugar regulation. And if somebody needs it, guess what? They might not have it because celebrities, you see a lot of people with them. There's lots of people on TikTok and social media getting hold of this stuff. It's taking away the actual intentional purposes of the drug, which is to help monitor people's blood sugar, diabetics' blood sugar a little bit better. It's taking it away from them. So we're basically saying, okay, I want to lose weight. Usually a lot of times these social media individuals, it's because of basically vanity. They just want to look a little bit better for their social media pictures or whatever. And they're taking it away from those people that really, really need it. So this is kind of a moral thing, but I still think it's something that needs to be said if you are considering taking it. And please like the video if you've gotten value from this so far. Another thing to consider is that there are a lot of health concerns down the road that can happen when you take Ozempic. So Ozempic itself sounds great, right? It sounds like something that's perfect for everything. But as I mentioned, there's lots of potential issues with nausea and stomach concerns. So you're going to have some stomach pains from all the digestion. Also, one of the biggest things, there is lots of research being done basically on thyroid issues down the road. So essentially, if you are somebody who has any type of thyroid concerns, or you want to concern or pay attention to your thyroid, basically, long story short, you might actually increase the risk of thyroid cancer, which is a huge, huge, huge concern for any capability. So there's lots of information being still researched on this, but we just don't know a lot about it. We don't know about it. And this next point kind of goes into that exact same thing, and the fact that this wasn't designed for people to lose extra weight. So this drug, as I described, is originally designed just for individuals who are trying to monitor their blood glucose and blood sugar to help with their diabetes control. So that sounds great, right? That sounds great. But a lot of the studies and research being done on this stuff hasn't been done in individuals who are already maybe at a healthy weight. So maybe they, just want to lose a few pounds, and it's kind of more for vanity's sake. Not a lot of research has been done on those individuals. So if you're kind of weighing the overall health concerns of taking something like Ozempic long term, this is something that you should consider. There's not a lot of studies done on people who it wasn't designed for. All the studies on if it was quote unquote safe was for individuals who are already unhealthy and they're trying to get to that healthy state, as in monitoring their overall blood sugar levels through the diabetes control. So this is really, really something that I want to drive home. A lot of people on social media, celebrities, etc., are getting this weight loss drug, quote unquote, and they are using it for those vanity sakes. This was not designed for that. This was not designed for that. And ultimately, we don't know what the long-term health consequences of this could be. And essentially, that's one of the big things I want you to take home from all this. So another thing to consider, and probably the most important thing about Ozempic that people are realizing when they're taking this, is that the weight loss simply doesn't last. And the reason that it doesn't last, again, this is for most individuals who have tried out the drug for themselves. The reason why it doesn't last is simply because of that mechanism we talked about earlier in the video. So if we go back in the video, the reason that semaglutide and this Ozempic or Wegovy is actually leading individuals to lose weight is because of the appetite regulation from it. So it slows digestion, and once you slow digestion a little bit through the use of this drug, that can actually decrease your overall appetite. If you have a decreased appetite, guess what? You're not going to be as likely to actually increase the overall intake of those kind of quote unquote unhealthier foods. You're going to feel full much sooner. You're going to feel full much longer. And that might seem like a great thing. And in all sense and reality, yeah, it is. But once you come off that drug, guess what happens? You go back to that same cycle of being hungry again, not feeling satisfied, not feeling like you can get enough from your food. And that's a huge, huge, huge problem, simply because you didn't really look at the underlying issue. The underlying issue, which usually leads to people gaining a lot of weight, is because of their high intake of very processed foods that are usually very low in fiber, low in protein, and ultimately very low in overall satiety. So we're kind of putting a Band-Aid fix on it because we're not actually looking at one of the main things. And of course, some individuals, I will say, just based off of how they were born and genetics, will be much more hungrier when they are moving through the day. They will likely not be able to control their hunger appetite quite as well, which is why it is so important for these types of individuals to really look at their psychology behind food. They really need to look at, what triggers me to overeat, or is my food environment good? Do I always have these highly processed, easily accessible foods available for myself to eat? And if that's the case for you, we need to look at those things as well, because if you are trying to take something like this for weight loss, it might be a good step, especially if you consider these things with your doctor, which if you are considering taking something like this, please talk to your doctor beforehand in anything you're putting in your body at all. But we need to work on the biology, which is kind of what this is doing, but also the psychology, because weight loss isn't just about basically the overall feeling, right? It's about our thoughts too. It's about how we think and look about food. Kind of the other thing I wanted to look at and just talk about when it comes to this weight loss drug, pill, etc. I don't believe there's any pills yet on this stuff, but just giving my final takes on this. A lot of people just need to kind of look in the mirror and say, am I at a healthy weight? And I think this is addressing the kind of elephant in the room, that a lot of people are taking something like this to look a certain way, just lose a few pounds, not even necessarily for their health. I think this could be a really useful tool for individuals who are very, very overweight and very, very obese, if it is something that can be prescribed by your doctor. But for most individuals, and the way it's been getting taken off the market right now, especially by Wegovy, it's used mainly as a vanity thing, especially when people are posting on social media and TikTok. And that's kind of the huge problem. Probably one of the biggest things that I want people to just realize: just because you have a little bit of extra fat, a little bit of extra weight, doesn't mean you're fat. It doesn't mean you're inherently overweight, quote unquote. You might just have a little bit of fluff, and that's okay. If you're in a healthy weight, and this is something you can find online through BMI standards, that's what we're trying to look for at the end of the day. So these are just some things to consider about Ozempic, Wegovy, and semaglutide, all these weight loss things. I'm going to leave a video in the pinned comment talking about a new study showing that intermittent fasting might not actually work for weight loss, so you might enjoy that as well. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Like the video. We'll see you in the next time.